Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5.
A chemical spill shuts down I-75 for much of the day. We have team coverage, including how traffic is moving and how the spill affected local schools.
Wilmore police are searching for a man they say approached a young girl in this neighborhood last night.
And the CDC issues stricter guidelines when it comes to dealing with Ebola patients. WKYT News at 5 starts now.
Good afternoon to you. A neighborhood is on alert after an unknown man approached a young girl.
It happened at the intersection of Creekside Drive and Butler Boulevard in the Meadows subdivision in Wilmore. As WKYT's Sam Smith shows us, police don't know the man's intentions and are searching for him to find out.
I talked to several people in the area. They say it's alarming, and some even took extra precautions this morning when sending their kids to school. Police were called to the intersection of Creekside Drive and Butler Boulevard inside the Meadows subdivision. They say sometime between 5 and 5:30 yesterday evening, a man driving a black SUV with tinted windows approached a young girl. Police do not know what his intentions were and say he never left the SUV. Police also don't know who he is. The notion, though, of a strange man approaching a young girl is unsettling for the folks here. Fortunately, nothing happened. Police are taking the matter seriously and will try to find the man involved.
You know, you never hear of stuff like that. You hear of other crimes like break-ins and that, but you don't hear of abductions.
Police will have an added presence in this neighborhood the next several days. In Wilmore, Sam Smith, WKYT.
Police describe the driver as a black man in his 20s with short hair and a muscular build. We are tracking the investigation into a pair of overnight robberies. The first happened about 2 a.m. on Scott Street near the UK campus. Police say two men with handguns forced a woman to the ground and stole her backpack. Many UK students walk on Scott Street to and from campus. One of them tells us she's taking extra precautions.
I have pepper spray that my husband wants me to carry with me all the time. And then, when I have my night class, just like being on the phone with someone as I'm leaving and walking to my parking spot on this street. So that's what I do.
The second robbery happened in the parking lot of Stony Brook Apartments on North Mount Tabor Road. Well, you are going to need the jackets and the sweaters come these next few days.
And the coats at night. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is here to talk about a drop in temperatures. Chris?
Yeah, that drop is on the way, and I know a lot of folks out there thinking, wait, it's going to actually get a little colder than what it is now. Plenty cold enough out there this afternoon, though, with the clouds, the gusty winds adding to the chill in the air. Live Skycam showing the overcast on top of Hamburg Pavilion, and the my real drawback from the clouds that we're seeing now, they're knocking a lot of the fall colors away from us. A lot of the leaves that are changing now already flying around. At least wait until after the weekend when we get some good weather, Mother Nature. We want to get out and check out some of those colors. Big area of low pressure that is pinwheeling into parts of New England. That's a nor'easter. It's just coming together. We are way away from that, but we're still getting in on a lot of clouds coming in from the north, and the occasional sprinkle is a possibility on Live First Alert Defender as we go through the evening. Most of the showers, though, should hang to our north and northeast. Those chilly temperatures into the low and mid 50s now across most of central and eastern Kentucky. So if you're out and about, you will need the jacket. A windy and a chilly week that continues. Notice I say it's a windy and chilly week. I make no mention about that for the weekend forecast. Big improvements when I come back in a bit.
Thank you, Chris. Within the past half hour, Interstate 75 has completely reopened following a chemical spill.
Authorities had to close a 7-mile stretch because of the spill this morning. This is what the highway looked like from Sky First for much of the day, with traffic backed up for miles. The effects of this chemical spill have reached beyond the interstate. Students in Madison County have either been delayed getting home or had to stay at school because of that spill. WKYT's Jerica Insco shows us how the district is taking care of all those children.
That chemical spill hasn't only slowed down people on the interstate, but also school buses here in Madison County because some neighborhoods have been impacted. There are 17 Madison County schools, and 4 of them have been impacted by the spill because of transportation issues. No schools were closed because of the chemical spill. Buses are running aside from 100 students who could not be bused home. That's because their neighborhoods were put under a shelter-in-place recommendation by emergency management officials asking people to stay indoors. Those neighborhoods include Madison Village, Lexington Heights, and Klein Lane Estates. Emergency management officials have been in contact with school officials to suggest where buses can and cannot go safely. Because of the traffic issues throughout the county, more than 3,500 students are impacted by either buses being rerouted, delayed, or unable to take them home.
And there's no hurry for parents to get there because of the traffic impact. You know, it's moms and dads sitting in cars on that interstate too. So we're going to hang out with their kids for as long as it takes, and we will get all of our kids home as early as possible.
If you have any concerns about bus delays or your child being stuck at school, you're asked to call the Madison County Board of Education. In Madison County, Jerica Insco, WKYT.
The 4 schools impacted include Whitehall Elementary, Glen Marshall Elementary, Cottle Middle, and Madison Central High School.
A man who jumped from a moving vehicle in Boyle County has died. The Fayette County coroner says Richard Booker died Saturday at UK Hospital, one day after the incident. The Boyle County Sheriff's Office says Booker's girlfriend, Nancy Jane Shook, was driving when he jumped out. Police arrested her and charged her with DUI. A couple of Lewis County roads had to be closed after a truck hauling macaroni and cheese overturned. It happened at the intersection of Kentucky 344 and Kentucky 59 south of Vanceburg. The truck had 44,000 pounds of boxed mac and cheese inside. The intersection closed around 11:30 and reopened about 3 hours later. The driver was not hurt.
Stricter protocols have been issued by the Centers for Disease Control to stop the spread of Ebola in the U.S. Allison Harmelin shows us the new rules and how they'll affect healthcare workers.
Thousands of healthcare workers in New York City learned how to properly suit up in protective equipment Tuesday after the CDC released new, stricter guidelines to fight the spread of Ebola.
You want to make sure everything fits.
Any information helps.
What did you learn today?
Just be prepared.
And keep it above our ears.
The new steps include repeated training for healthcare workers and protective gear that leaves no skin exposed. The recommendations come after 2 nurses who treated Ebola patient Thomas Duncan in Dallas contracted the disease.
We are here today because one healthcare worker getting Ebola when caring for a patient is too many.
The CDC says the protective gear should include double gloves, respirators, surgical hoods to ensure complete coverage of the head and neck, and disposable full-face shields instead of goggles.
The CDC also recommends a trained monitor supervise workers every time they put on or take off the personal protective equipment.
Nurse Jennifer Johnson feels reassured after watching the demonstration.
Even though it's very time-consuming, it had a lot of steps, I do feel a little safer.
And a good trick Barbara's going to show is to step on the inside of the gown to help remove.
And safety is the goal for healthcare workers on the front lines. Allison Harmelin for CBS News, New York.
The CDC also calls for limiting the number of workers in a patient's isolation room and effective disinfecting of the protective gear. Well, today here at WKYT, we have been helping in the fight against breast cancer by giving women an easy way to get in and get an all-important mammogram. We partnered with St. Elizabeth Healthcare's mobile mammography unit to bring mammograms to women here in central Kentucky. And so far, we've been able to serve about 30 women. The day is made possible through Komen Lexington.
Komen Lexington funds 15 hospitals, grants, and patient navigation services. So how we work is 75% of what we do stays here in the 58 counties, and we grant it out so that people can come out to wonderful things like this, one of our grantees being St. Elizabeth, so that if they don't have insurance, we can get them in and get them screened.
The mobile unit will be here at the station until 6:30. This is the second year for WKYT hosting a mobile mammography day, and you can still make an appointment.
One of 3 Americans being held in North Korea has been freed. The State Department says negotiations led to the release of Jeffrey Foll, who returned home today. An Associated Press journalist spotted a U.S. government plane in the nation's capital. The U.S. is still trying to free 2 other Americans, Matthew Miller and Kenneth Bay. Olympian Oscar Pistorius will spend 5 years in prison for killing his girlfriend. Pistorius shot and killed Reva Steenkamp nearly 2 years ago, claiming he thought she was an intruder. A judge found the double amputee Olympic runner guilty of manslaughter. She says her sentence balanced Pistorius' negligence with the public's desire to see justice done.
It would be a sad day for this country if an impression were to be created that there was one law for the poor and disadvantaged and another for the rich and famous.
Pistorius must serve at least 10 months before he can apply to finish his sentence under house arrest. Both sides have 14 days to appeal the judge's decision.
A recall alert today about pain relievers sold at Dollar Tree stores. Bottles of ibuprofen were mistakenly placed in boxes of Assured brand naproxen sodium tablets. Some people use naproxen sodium because of ibuprofen allergies. The recall affects 15-count boxes of 220 milligram Assured brand naproxen sodium tablets. You can return them to the store or you can call this number 336-252-3422. Gas prices are now the lowest that they have been in more than 3 years, giving consumers extra savings at the pump as they gear up for the holiday season. The national average for gas is about $3.09 for a gallon. Here in Kentucky, it's about $2.95. Bagad Shaban shows us how the lower prices are helping drivers.
Chris Higgins sometimes spends almost 30 hours a week on the road.
Flowers for Teresa.
He delivers flowers for the Jacob Mars Florist Shop in Pasadena, California. But his company is now seeing even more green because gas prices have dropped.
You really notice it when you are driving and really burning up a lot of fuel. It's dramatically cheaper than it used to be.
The national average for a gallon of gas is down about 60 cents from this year's high in April. And compared to last summer, most drivers are now saving $5 to $15 each time they fill up.
And that's real money that is great in everyone's pocket as we enter the holiday travel season.
That looks like a popular one this week.
Hank Mars, who owns the Pasadena shop, says more than half his orders are delivered.
If gas prices stay this low, how much could you save this month?
This month we could probably save between $600 and $700.
He says that gives his business a boost.
It kind of offsets the other expenses that are going up, insurance and flower prices, so it's nice to have a reduction.
Mars hopes the trend continues. He may be in luck. Gas prices are expected to remain low until spring. Bagad Shaban, CBS News, Pasadena, California.
Well, we should all certainly enjoy the cheaper gas prices are the result of lower crude oil prices and a boom in production. The cost of flying during the holidays is on the rise. According to Expedia.com, flights around Thanksgiving weekend are up 17% from last year. Flights for the Christmas holiday are up 2%. An estimated 21 million Americans are expected to fly now through December.
An unusual weapon helped a convenience store clerk fight off a robber. Annabelle Miller says a masked woman came into her Pennsylvania store and demanded cash. Miller didn't hesitate, grabbing a nearby can of Raid bug spray and spraying the robber. Miller says she wasn't about to let the woman hurt her first.
When she pulled her hands back towards herself, I didn't know if she had anything on her, and I wasn't letting her get to it first. I just got mad. I have better things to do with my night than that.
Miller says she enjoys working the night shift and says she's never had any trouble like this before. Beware of the bug spray.
I like it because it has that